Hey everybody, going to be doing something a little bit different. Rather than do a video of me talking about something, gonna do something a little bit different here. Gonna actually show you what I'm talking about, and there'll be live commentary with pauses. So, if you don't know, Epic and EA sat down before the UK Parliament, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, to discuss predatory gambling. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it went it went about as well as you think it would for EA and Epic. But basically, um, this shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. Anybody who follows EA and Epic Games, you know how big they are with like their loot boxes and their pay to win systems. And this wasn't like a court case. It wasn't like a big court case. It was a hearing, if anything. So pretty much what this boils down to is I'm assuming that a lot of this, because in the UK their laws differ compared to the United States when it comes to what they allow in games in their region as compared to here. Whereas I know that I said in a video a while ago, EA Belgium, they're not allowed to have the same loot boxes or loot crates or wherever implemented in the games over there because they have laws against predatory gambling. So I don't know if that is a direct reason for this, but we'll figure that out. We'll figure that out in a minute. So just getting some things ready here. All right. So basically what we're going to do here is we're not going to watch the whole video because it's over 2.5 hours long. So we're just going to probably go through, I'd say about the first 10 to 20 minutes, depending on the length of this video. And I'll pause at length and we'll discuss exactly what's going on because there's a lot to unravel here. But basically, it goes like this. EA and Epic done messed up, and they came off as completely and totally incompetent in this. So let's get this going. Okay. Let me just make sure we got the same thing going. Okay. All right, there we go. Let me just make sure. All right, cool. We got the same thing going. All right. Going back and forth here. I do apologize. Oh, new dead meat. Gonna check that out in a minute. All right. Okay. All right, there we go. Let me just make sure. And we got echo. Just took care of that. All right. So sorry about that. Okay. Making sure. Okay. We should be ready to go. So yeah, we're gonna watch this and we'll just do some stop and go commentary on this and we'll have a little fun. Volume's up. All right, let's go.
Welcome to this session of the Digital Culture, Media and Sports Select Committee and an evidence session on our inquiry into addictive and immersive technologies. We're very grateful for the representatives both from Epic Games and Electronic Arts for joining us, particularly representatives of the companies who've travelled from the United States to be here for the evidence session this afternoon. We're grateful for your time and commitment to the evidence.
Okay, really quick, I just want to point out, I'd say maybe only one of them is actually remotely ready for this. I mean, the woman on the far left, I mean, she looks somewhat content, but that could, I mean, for all I know, I could be really wrong. But I love how the other two guys on the right, you can tell they ain't ready for this. You're going to find out why.
Session. I wonder if I could start with some questions. Firstly, directed at Epic Games regarding Fortnite, the global phenomenon of a game that you make. I'm sure you'll be familiar with the remarks that Prince Harry made about Fortnite, which pretty unprecedented for a member of the royal family to talk about a commercial organization, particularly in a critical way, believing that the game shouldn't be played. And he even said, and I quote, "It's created to addict, an addiction to keep you in front of a computer for as long as possible. It's so irresponsible." What response would you give to Prince Harry about the concerns that he's expressed about Fortnite?
We were quite taken aback at Epic by that, really rather surprised, because the statements that were made, in our view, couldn't be further from the truth from our intentions and design philosophy. And just
Okay, quick pause here. This is going to come back and bite this guy right in the ass. I guarantee you. I guarantee you it will. And really quick, does it really matter what another, like the prince of another country has to say about your game? I mean, it's his opinion. He's entitled to it. So for them to act upset about it, it's like, what do you care? He isn't your target demographic. Anyway, let's continue.
Just our multi-decade approach to developing a long-term, healthy and sustainable relationship with our audience. It's really always been our effort and intent to create a fun, fair, flexible, engaging, and generous
Look up, buddy.
Form of interactive entertainment for our audience. And so I feel like a statement that suggests that there was some sort of nefarious attempt to extract short-term
it's an opinion.
Profit is a real mischaracterization.
It's an opinion.
It's interesting. So you're
going to hear a lot of them.
What he said is a lack of understanding, or
I do.
But you'll be familiar with a number of press reports about people complaining about the amount of money that they spend playing Fortnite, that they're encouraged to spend playing Fortnite, particularly the amount of money that younger people spend playing Fortnite. Do you
here we go.
that for some players,
this is going to be good.
There's a real issue here with the amount they're spending playing the game.
Yeah, we have a number of parental controls that are in place, even within the game, for purchasing habits, where we can actually, a parent can go in, enter in PIN information, and control a number of features.
That's if you have a PIN number already.
Plays a game within that.
Okay, hold on. Okay. What he's talking about, it's a feature you have to put into the account, not so much into the actual transaction itself. Okay, no, that's not 100% true. If a kid gets a hold of a credit card, and that credit card is, and here's the best part, depending on how they're playing, if you're on the PS4 or I believe the Xbox One, or hell, maybe even Steam, if you have credit card information already tied into that account, and the kid is just blindly clicking on things, buying them. So, no, it's not necessarily true. Yes, you can put in some features to restrict that, but ultimately it's on the parents to basically be making sure that they are keeping an eye on what their kids are doing and playing. To automatically assume that, not assume, but to make that argument just really shows how little they actually know. Because I haven't received a single PIN option on my PS4, and thankfully I don't keep my payment information saved on there, but for a while I did, and I had somebody go onto my PS4 and they purchased something. Thankfully it was only like worth $3. But they already thought it was like a wallet amount already on there. But anyway, I digress. No, that's a bullshit passive remark.
Outline the various systems that people can use to control payments, and if that is an issue,
if the parents are in the room,
they can lock down those features so that payments cannot be processed.
But that's not what
it does. There was a story in the British press earlier this month about a 6-year-old who was using his uncle's account on PlayStation to play Fortnite. He spent £1,600 in a single day.
Kid used his uncle's account. Remember that. Used the uncle's account to spend £1,600. That roughly translates, I think, to about 12 or 13. No, I'm sorry. It's the other way around. Give me a second. I'm trying to remember how to do conversion from the dollar to the pound. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's my kid. Sorry. Hold on one second. We'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. When the child wants a drink, you got to get the drink. Okay. So if I remember correctly, I think a dollar here would be about 70 cents there ish. It definitely changed since when I went over there in 2012. So remember that 6-year-old used his uncle's account and made those purchases. So 1,600 pounds probably equates to around $1,200 or $1,300. Or no, I'm sorry, I keep getting it messed up. So it'd probably be closer to $2,000 American, like $1,900, $2,000 American. They spent. So imagine coming home and finding like your 6-year-old child on your PlayStation, your Xbox, your computer, and just found out they just paid $2,000 using your payment system that's already in your computer.
And these stories are not isolated. What do you do in cases like that? I mean, do you offer refunds to people? Do you accept the fact that maybe someone lost control of the account and money was spent that shouldn't have been spent?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the report. The idea that you could spend 1,600 pounds in a day sounds. I'm not sure that you can actually spend that much in Fortnite.
I've got the report here from the newspapers. So I don't know if you put a complaint into the press standards body if you feel the story's not true.
Okay, so I love right away that the guy doing the hearing, after hearing that response, had this smile on his face with the response like, okay, so you really think I'm BSing you right now? And for this guy, the guy answering the question, I apologize, I don't have names. We'll get them in a minute. For him to act like, oh, I don't even know if that's possible. Okay, let's go to Fortnite for just a second here, okay? You can purchase their in-game currency, their V-Bucks, and you get about, I think, 1,000 of them for $10. That's pretty standard across the board for most video games. Like, I know Dead by Daylight, if you pay $10, you get 1,100 of their auric cells, which is used to get cosmetics or even other characters in the game. So is it possible for someone to spend 1,600 pounds? Absolutely. If they're going in and they're purchasing, because keep in mind, when you purchase things on the item shop screen, new ones reload. So it's definitely not without reason that it could happen. Now, granted, this person's an idiot for having this information saved wherever they had it. And to be perfectly honest with you, I'd say this is a combination of both the bank allowing all of these transactions to go at once, as well as proper adulting not taking place. So there's a lot of blame being shifted here. But from this dude over at Epic to act like that this is I don't think this is true. How can you even do that? Well, very easily. If you agree to get 100 of the V-Bucks, no, I'm sorry, not 100. If you're going to be getting like the $10 bundle of the V-Bucks, and you do it 10 times, that's $100. And that's not counting the fact that each of the characters can cost on average between $10 and $20. I could be wrong on there. I'd say so 15 is that sweet number in there. The dancing emotes cost anywhere between $5 and $10 each. The different items, the different cosmetics. So is it possible? Yes, if this person went, I mean, again, 6 years old. So maybe they were just sitting there for a couple of hours and just repeatedly buying things. But yes, it does happen. There are numerous stories. This has been a thing for years, and I know I'm going on here. This has been a thing for years now. People are always acting like this is a new thing. Go and look up all of the times kids get a hold of their parents or their family members' cards or even a stolen card and use it to just pay for crazy amounts of things, like mobile games, video games, everything. But let's keep going.
I can check, but that amount in a single day does not seem correct. But beyond
to you,
that, we have a player support system that we invest in heavily.
No, you don't.
Global, where for these types
no,
of
you don't. You
situations,
ban people for exploiting glitches in the playground
ticket,
system.
Either through the game or through our website. And we have basically protocol in place to handle these kind of family fraud situations. And
what he's talking about is
can access
contesting the charges, which I do believe they can do. So he is right on that.
So this particular case, this is £1,600 spent a day on 15 separate transactions. I mean, do you have, shouldn't there be features built in that either require some additional verification of the purchaser or challenge someone before spending what would seem to be an excessive amount of money to spend playing a game? And
questioning the amount bought at one time.
I again would refer back to my comments around payment control systems that we reference in game, where you can go into parental controls and we clearly and explicitly list the ways that you can.
Right, but if a child is using someone's account, maybe without their permission,
down to the user as far as you're concerned. User's responsibility to make sure those settings are in place.
Argument is talking about it's up to the user and not so much the people who designed the damn game.
But do you think it's responsible that someone could make that level of purchase anyway? Is it responsible to design a game where someone can spend that amount of money without challenge, in a single day, and then
they don't care?
Should have set the settings differently.
It's how they make money.
I think it's a little bit of a mischaracterization of how we've actually built the game. Anna mentioned a little bit about this, but we're not interested in maximizing some sort of very short-sighted, short-term
they look so nervous.
Our players. We instead want to have a very open and honest relationship that is built to last for years. And the only way to do that is to do that in what is a sustainable way. And that involves us being generous with our offers. That involves us being as transparent as possible about.
They've had good offers. I'll give them that one.
Purchasing decisions in the game. Those are just a couple of the ways.
But when something goes wrong, so if you've got an account like that, or that account spends £1,600 in a day, and that's out of character with the playing pattern of the account owner, can someone come back to you and say, well, look, this is what happened. I didn't authorize this. It wasn't my intention. A child has done it. Yep. There have been lots of complaints about this before we got related to Fortnite. You can have the money back.
Yeah, that's where I would say I wasn't aware of this specific report, but
okay. How on earth can you not? How on earth can you not know? You're going before a hearing. You're going before a panel at a hearing to discuss these things, and you don't know. It just shows how clueless they are.
I mean, any player can submit these types of complaints or concerns through our player support system, and we have family fraud rules in place for just these exact type of situations.
And so you refund the money in that case.
That is true. Yes. That is the good thing about that.
Show us that their child has done this transaction and it wasn't authorized. Yeah, it's our intention to be generous in those cases.
So how would they demonstrate that?
I don't oversee the player support system, but I know that we receive those kind of requests regularly, and on very rare occasions, some of those get escalated to higher levels of support or up to legal even. My understanding is that's a really small percentage of those
But it
cases,
still happens, and you can't pretend like
the
it
vast
doesn't.
majority of them are addressed in the first instance.
How would someone demonstrate that it was the child that had made the purchase, not them?
I think you could show the ownership of the credit card that was used to.
Yeah, but imagine this case. So this is a card that's been registered to the game. The child has gone in and just played the game using the settings that are there.
Okay,
and
that right there was the point I was making. People over these two guys at Epic right now, they're trying to claim that there's these controls set in place that could stop this. What they're not making clear as day is that that's the responsibility of the user, the owner of the hardware, to have these systems in place. And yeah, I have them on my computer for various things. So this sort of thing doesn't happen if my equipment ends up getting stolen. So it's very clear to understand that one very important thing. It is the responsibility of the person to make sure that if they have a credit card tied into anything on their computer or on their console, that they should have some kind of protection in place, some kind of password or PIN code to make sure that if anyone else were to get into it, that they don't have the ability to just frequently buy things. What the UK Parliament is trying to say here is like, well, it's tied to the account automatically. Therefore, there's nothing stopping these kids without these restrictions in place. Yes, it's very rare, but they do happen. And that's the point he's trying to make, that it's encouraging that kind of behavior because there's no way to restrict those kinds of very large payments in game. And he's suggesting maybe there should be some restrictions built into the actual game itself, not into the person's account at home, but into the game itself that restricts this kind of activity. And he's calling them out on it. It's pretty simple. Like, well, you're kind of encouraging it since you don't have a cap on it. But I'm not going to go through all of theirs. I kind of want to get to EA here because it gets good with EA. So we're going to jump ahead.
The number of purchases someone might make as a frequent player.
Again, I think we would consider that commercially sensitive information. It's very competitive in the free-to-play space, and this type of information typically isn't shared.
Joe Stevens.
Okay, so I know I didn't see it, but I know what the question was. There was actually let's go back. I don't want to go verbatim what it was, but I want to go back and see that. I know I'm all over the place. I'm sorry.
They might play for an even greater duration. So
they're asking about what a frequent player is, and he can't answer the question.
Defining just what is a frequent player?
Yeah, he can't answer the question. He's trying his damnedest not to answer.
Difficult.
Yeah. See, what I struggle with here is that this is a game which makes money out of people playing it. It's a hugely successful game, played by millions of people around the world. And this sort of basic information, and we know from the other games companies we've spoken to, is something that will be gathered and analysed all the time. So I don't believe that you don't know this information. And to me, it is it arouses suspicion that this is not something we can discuss because obviously for our inquiry.
So just for clarification, the initial question was they were talking about gamers and time spent and what they, and how many people consider themselves frequent gamers. And Matt here, he's sidestepping the question. He doesn't want to answer it because it's going to loop around to, basically, if there's this many frequent gamers, how come you don't have these kind of restrictions built into the game? It's tying into the overall argument presented by the UK Parliament, which is that this is a gambling system, and you're preying on people who sit here and play these games without these precautions in place, without these caps in place. And Matt won't answer the question. And furthermore, he doesn't have the information. And then he doubles down and says, we don't have the information available for the sake of, I think it was like privacy or something, which to me feels like it's a joke. You should be bringing your A game to things like this.
It's fairly basic information. You don't need to know your corporate secrets, but get a sense of what people that are normal frequent players engage with the game, about the time they would typically play, Of course, it will vary, but I'm sure that you've got an idea what the answers to those questions are.
I'm sure I'm confident that Epic as a company has the means to track and understand the finer points of
But you
player
didn't.
engagement. Neither of us are in the data analytics department.
But you should have had those
We've
numbers. All right, I'm going to move ahead a little bit.
And a good experience for players.
So do you do anything around working out what impact the game might have on psychological well-being when you develop them? Do you employ behavioural psychologists? Do you have any psychological input into the design of the games?
I'm not aware of
A whole lot of not knowing
with
here.
Psychologists to when we design of the games.
We don't work with psychologists. No. Okay, fine. And what sort of player behaviours visible?
This is going to tie into a big
games,
point in a minute.
such as the length of time they play for, the number of games they play each day, the amount of money they spend, would you think would trigger any concern about player well-being?
We again, it's I guess it goes back to your first question. I mean, we want players to take a healthy and balanced approach to playing games, just like anything else.
That's
So
true.
what's healthy and balanced? How would you define that? So what is unhealthy and unbalanced?
I think it's going to vary.
This should be a very easy question to answer.
We talk about balance in the sense of, what does that mean in terms of, it's different things.
Dude, quit trying to get nuance and answer the question. This is very simple. What is balanced gameplay? It's very simple. Okay. If you're the kind of person that sits in front of your TV or your computer screen for double-digit hours every single day, multiple times a week, okay, that could very well determine an unbalance because you're not getting any fresh air. You're probably not eating the best. You're probably not taking good care of yourself. So the answer would be it would start getting unhealthy when you're unable to walk away, when you're unable to physically take care of yourself, when you're not actually getting real sleep, when your hygiene becomes a question. See, this is the point. They don't want to answer these questions because they want to leave all these answers as open as possible. This is such a bullshit nuanced argument.
Personally, it's playing for half an hour to an hour. I mean, my motivation as a
that's not harmful at all.
Just for fun.
Hell, even a few hours isn't bad
for some players. And if they're, if you look at FIFA and FIFA Ultimate Team players, they are competitive and they want to continue.
That's because each of the games average about what, half hour, 45 minutes?
Potentially to go into a career in esports,
that's different.
It's what they're
getting paid to do that.
They'll spend time kind of playing the game. I think it's kind of excessive is about it. It's difficult to characterize. I mean, excessive is about when it ultimately what is out of what it feels out of balance for the individual.
So what's the longest recorded play time on FIFA, for example?
So we don't actually record play time. So our game, the FIFA game, has a number of different modes, and each of the modes are built to be enjoyed differently. When we look at how players are playing, I think similar to Epic, we look at.
So this is the two on the left are representing
So we look at something
EA.
called session days. So just to be clear.
Oh my gosh, to have been
the
in that
data
room.
we are able to gather through our game when people are playing shows that they've connected to the game. And we can collect things like number of matches played.
But you
we
can't
don't
get an
actually
idea of
collect
hours spent
data
played.
that shows that there's been ongoing input. So I would know, for instance, that you came into the game today and played 4 matches. I wouldn't know if you left the game open on your system. I wouldn't know how long you were actually playing. What we could tell you is that the average
You could still have
number
a bare
of session
minimum.
days for a user of our FIFA game is about 50. So that means they've played 50 times over the year.
What else do you record in terms of player data?
So our telemetry data basically is collecting information on how features are used, how often they're used, whether users are facing frustration in the features. So
You
we
don't
know that
care
we have
about
a
that.
data analytics.
EA could care less about your frustration. No. Don't even get me started. If EA actually cared about player frustration, they would have done something about their games a long time ago. People have been so out front and open with, and I know that I for all I know, they're still talking about FIFA and issues in the game. I'm talking about all EA games. I'm talking about the fact that every single Madden game that has been released since the beginning, I don't know, like since online gameplay had become like a mainstay, people have been constantly complaining about the Madden series and how it offers nothing, and you have to pay like real money for in-game edges to get like special collector's items. For the NBA games, you need ridiculous amounts of money just to create characters and boost stats. So and that's not even getting started on their loot box system, and we're getting to that. Don't you worry, we are getting to that. So for them to say that is complete bull crap.
Team who collect this data and work to analyze it, and their main focus is on looking at how to make a game that people will enjoy playing. And one of the big questions they ask is, how hard should a game be to make sure that we're
that shouldn't be up for you to decide.
Possible, because people do like to play in different ways. Some people play a lot. Some people play for short times. And so they have this amazing tool. I mean, these are really, really smart people who can do amazing things. They have a visualization tool that allows them to collect the data on the usage of a game and put it into a web visualizer so they can see during certain.
So they can get everything else
everybody who's been playing
about the game, but they can't get an idea of
for
like
instance,
roughly time
you might be
played.
familiar with our Battlefield game. It's a war game. We had a section.
I love that, like, oh, it's a war game, I guess.
To play, and we had one map where folks just kept failing in the game, and so we were able to use the data we collected from the game to visualize what was happening, and we found that a lot of people kept going down this one road in the map and clogging it up and failing.
Yeah, you'd almost wonder if you could release a finished product on time and not focus so much on a social justice campaign and championing a cause when you actually just could care less about it, but whatever.
And so through that data, we were able to say, let's change the look of that. Let's add some trees to this road. Let's make some changes so that we don't have thousands of players going down this road and failing at this mode.
Okay. Can I just go back to the FIFA game? Of particular interest because I have two sons and they both play a lot of FIFA. So if you're not measuring the longest, I think I asked you the question.
I wonder what the loot box question is.
And play time
just check the time code
that you've had recorded. You don't measure that. Going back to what you said originally at the start of your evidence about health and well-being, if you can't measure excessive play in terms of length of time on your games, how are you addressing the health and well-being of your
So
player?
I think it's right
I don't think even if we
around
could
here.
measure the time.
So we're going to jump ahead a little bit more.
There are lots of reports. I mean, my colleague Simon Hart has read things out from a quick Google search. We've quoted newspaper articles. I quoted what Prince Harry thought. We've quoted what the WHO thinks. And your response to all of it is that basically all these people are wrong, and you're wrong, and there's not a problem. And you're so confident there's not a problem, you don't even monitor it.
I believe I said I wouldn't presume to say any of those people are wrong.
But you do. This is talking about their customer support, as well as their response to a lot of the comments that people have been making about their games. And no, it has been terrible. It has been miserable. And I'm sure it's not all of it, but the amount of outcry just from Battlefield 5, okay, that alone should have been a red flag. Like there are people working within the company who are literally going on social media telling you, don't like the game, don't buy it. What a great way to attract customers. Hey, you don't like our shit? You have a problem with what we're doing? Screw you, don't buy it. So no, I'm not buying. Like, no, they could care less about what the people are saying as a whole. They have a product. They want to make money on it. They don't cap any of this. They're they're basically preying on your wallet. And we'll get to, and that'll be like the ending argument. But there's something coming up that I can't wait for. He is so not ready for this hearing, by the way. He is all over the map.
That's fair. When I was referring to Mr. Hart's reference to self-reported family problems or concerns. I
don't know. It's not really my problem.
I would say if I was a parent who's concerned about my child's use of Fortnite, I think listening to your testimony would not give me any encouragement at all that this was an issue that you cared about.
I think we do care about it, and I would actively encourage those concerned parents to use the tools and measures that we have in
So
place.
it's the parent's responsibility, it's not yours. You don't have responsibility, it's up to the parents to set the controls.
I don't think it is our primary responsibility to determine how much individual players should play Fortnite.
Okay, so I will agree with that. It is not up. It's not up to Epic to decide how much people play the game. That really boils down to the person playing. If they're a child, then that's the responsibility of the parent to be monitoring how much time people are playing on their video games. When you know the kid grows up and is an adult, then it's I'd say it's more on them. So yes, it is. That is the whole thing, but it doesn't really help that his whole attitude around this is it's not our problem. But I'll give him this one.
Well, I think this is where go back to the questions about the online bonds or the concept of duty of care. I think this is one area where we may all end up disagreeing. You know, I think we think that major platforms making very large amounts of money for millions of people should have some sort of duty of care of the way people use their product. Brendan O'Hara.
You may not believe you have have a legal duty of care. I think you'd agree that a company like yourselves should have a code of ethics. And we've heard a lot of evidence in this committee from Dr. David Zendel, among others, that loot boxes
Here we go.
closely linked to problem gambling, particularly among adolescents. Can I ask you, both companies, do you consider loot boxes to be an ethical feature of your games? Kelly?
Well, first, we don't call them loot boxes. I think that was
Whatever term you wish to apply to them, do you consider them ethical?
So what we look at as surprise mechanics.
Surprise mechanics. Surprise mechanics. Okay, I'm on board. Let's see where this train's going.
But I think it's important to look at this. So if you go to a I don't know what your version of Target is, but a store that sells a lot of toys, and you do a search for surprise toys, what you'll find is that this is something people enjoy. They enjoy surprises, and so it's something that's been part of toys for years, whether it's Kinder Eggs or Hatchimals or LOL Surprise. We do think the way that we have implemented these kind of mechanics, and FIFA, of course, is our big one, our FIFA Ultimate Team and our packs, is actually quite ethical and quite fun, enjoyable to people. We agree with the UK Gambling Commission, the Australian Gambling Commission, and many other gambling commissions that they aren't gambling. And we also disagree that there's evidence that shows it leads to gambling. Instead, we think it's like many other products that people enjoy in a very healthy way, and like the element of surprise.
Okay. And that's, oh my gosh. And that's where I'm going to call it right there, the rest of the video. I recommend people check it out. I'm clearly watching it from someone else who put it on their channels. But yeah, look up the video from the UK Parliament discussing this issue. It's a really interesting watch. All right, I'll get to that in a minute. All right, hang out. Okay. Okay. All right, here we go. Okay. So, you heard it yourself, okay? Surprise mechanics. Oh my god. Okay. So, loot boxes, if you didn't know, they are special boxes that you can get in the game using either real money or in-game currency, depending on what you're playing. And they give you special items. Here's the problem with that. You have no control whatsoever as to what you're getting in them, or whether or not you're actually going to be getting something rare. That's my issue with this thing entirely. The fact that EA can say that they don't see this as an issue and they don't see it as gambling, that's very concerning. That's very concerning to me because how it works is that people buy these special loot boxes because they're looking for some kind of special edge. They're looking for that's like in FIFA, they're looking for those special playing cards, same as in Madden. Because they have special collector items and you basically get them and you can use them in game. Now, I don't know if that translates to players you can actually use in game, but it translates to item skins that you can use in game, collectibles. The list goes on. I know with Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2, EA promised that they weren't going to do this, and of course they did. And they immediately changed how it worked because essentially for a while it was if some people would get actual in-game advantages that would basically it was pay to win. But now it's gotten to the point where it's not so much pay to win, although I'd argue it is to a certain extent depending on if collecting more gives you a distinct advantage. But it's the fact that people are using these systems to buy these special items without any idea of what they're getting. So I love when she made the comparison that it's Hatchimals or Kinder Eggs. Okay, there's a distinct difference here. When you go out and you buy those items, you can physically choose whichever one you want to get. There's a feeling of personal involvement when you do that. When you're online doing it, you have no choice. You are literally given whatever the servers give you, whatever the service gives you is what you get. And I've seen multiple times people get these special boxes that have had nothing or nothing rare or special in them. It's basically just crap. And since they don't have a system in place to basically count the amount of the same items you've gotten time after time after time, and then start changing that algorithm up, it really just bye. And since they don't have any of that, it's like you could essentially pay tons of money to get the same crap over and over, and people are doing it for the sake of collecting, for the sake of trying to get some kind of special advantage. And for her to say that they can't put the gap together with gambling, it's right in your face. People are buying these because they're hoping to get some kind of special item or it's some kind of distinct advantage while playing for their account. They see gambling as like wins and losses and dollar signs. No, gambling is much more than that. You can gamble to get in-game items for the sake of completion or getting like a set of like virtual playing cards or things like that. It is gambling. You're investing money into something without a surefire chance that it's going to pay off. That's what gambling is. You're putting money into something for the sake of getting a bigger payout. And the fact that she calls them surprise mechanics and people really like them surprises, that's bullshit. I guarantee you that's bullshit. How many times have we played games where they have mystery boxes? I cannot begin to tell you how much that annoys the hell out of people after like the 10th, 15th, 20th time, where you keep getting the same crap over and over because you can't control what you're getting because you can't use in-game currency to get said special items. It all comes down to the luck of the box. And that is my problem with this. That is my problem overall with all of this. That is my problem overall with this. It's the fact that EA and Epic are completely oblivious to the situation, or they know and they just don't care. So, what does this tell you from your hearing? Well, it tells you that they have no measures in the game to actually cap what people are spending in large excess amounts because they don't care. They say it's the responsibility of the user, but we don't have them in the game because, people don't steal credit cards. And, that doesn't happen. Don't worry about that. They say that, their special mystery box loot crate items are There are surprise mechanics. No, it's gambling. It has always been gambling. That's why it's outlawed from those games, from those two companies in various parts of the world, because they consider them predatory gambling, and that's exactly what they are. So what does this boil down to? It boils down to the fact that both companies could really care less about what you have to say, because they will make their 2 cents known about it if they really want to on social media. They, at the end of the day, are a company that are there to make money, and whatever, they have every right to. But when push comes to shove, they could care less about doing the right thing or having certain measures in order. They could care less about giving you a good game and more or less relying everything on slot machines, which Angry Joe said in a video, that's what they just should be called. Don't call them surprise mechanics. Don't call them loot boxes. Call them slot machines. Just make it a giant slot machine for what it is. Hell, I think even the new Sega racing game has a slot machine mechanic right before the match to give you a distinct advantage prior to the race. So that's, oh my gosh. So honestly, if you didn't already know, this just goes to show you how incredibly incompetent both of these companies are. All these people were woefully underprepared for this hearing. The fact that none of them could get any of this information in front of them, and their excuse was, well, that's not us. That's not us. This is not this department. You're going to another country to discuss predatory gambling in your game, and of course you are against that. You think they're wrong. Wouldn't it stand to reason to get with the people who may have this information and have it presentable so it shows you're a competent company? No, because they're not. EA doesn't care. Epic, I would say, cares a little bit more, because they actually will weed out the troublesome players in Fortnite. I have seen it, people who abuse the systems, and they do have the systems in place to challenge a lot of those larger charges. So with Epic Games, I'm not nearly as upset. However, I am a little disturbed at how little they actually value the customer as a whole, especially when they internalize other opinions from other world leaders as like it's something they need to take personally. I'm like, Prince Harry doesn't like your game. Who cares? You got millions of people who do. You have people who make money and advertise your game for free. And I know, and I didn't show it on here, but that's that one guy on the far right. It was either him or Matt made a comment saying, well, we don't make money on this. It's a free game. And I know for a fact the guy leading the whole hearing said, well, you could still buy the whole game, which is still $60. You can pay $10 for the battle pass if you don't have any V-Bucks, the in-game currency, and you could still buy things in-game. So yes, you're making money off of this game, and for them to lie through their teeth and say that they're not, that irritates me. They know they're making money off this, and they could care less. They could 100% care less about it. They don't care. They know they're lying. They know they're making money. Everyone plays their game for free, but everyone at some point is going to pay a little money for something in that game. So even if it's one person who spends like $5 on like a special costume in the game, that's still $5 more than they had made initially from a game that they got for free. But anyway, that's going to do it. I just wanted to showcase this because it really pissed me off, and hopefully everyone who watches enjoys. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you like this format where I actually go at a video publicly and talk about what irritates me with it? I kind of like it. I thought it was fun. So that's going to do it. This is where it's going to boil down to. What do you think, the people watching, what do you think we should do? Let me know in the comments below.